Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, buongiorno, buonasera, dzień dobry, dobry wieczór, jak and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be. J. Slater case. Video 2 of the day, Tuesday, 12th of May. And this one will focus on one or two different things. Believe it or not, Weetagate or Weetabix Gate is still rolling on. If you missed yesterday's video, I did remark how very bizarre it was that one Lord Lugworm would claim not to watch my videos, but still happen to have seen the Weetabix box in the background. I thought it was rather unusual that someone would not watch a video but have seen the Weetabix box in the background. I should have known that Weetagate would not just disappear at that. Of course, there was an accident group response, and the response was it is entirely possible for Lord Lugworm to read the transcript that accompanies the video and just to have in the background, in a still picture, the Weetabix box. In which case, for, I don't know, 15 minutes or so, just reading the transcript and seeing a still image of a Weetabix box does not count as watching the video. In the Weetabix gate or the Weetagate debate, I then fired back, that makes no sense to me. That's like me saying, I didn't watch the two goals in the Spurs Leeds game yesterday. I mean, I happened to see them somehow in the background. I was actually reading the live text report of the match. I mean, when does seeing something become watching? So I revert to my position in Weetagate scandal here, that if you're reading the transcript and you've got this image in the background for a period of time, that's watching the video. What's the difference between that and just having my voice playing over it? The definition of watch is to look at something attentively for a period of time. I submit that even if Lord Lugworm is not listening to my words and watching the video as such, he's still watching it. If that image is in the background and he's reading a transcript, I call that watching. But anyway, as we split hairs even finer and finer with the accident group on what the hell watching something really is, I'm going to say it again. I think the easiest explanation here is that Lord Lugworm is just lying, that he does watch the videos, he does listen to the voice, he does, see everything that's going on. And he's just, as always, contradicting himself over and over again, is my take. But there we go. Hopefully, that will wrap up Weetagate, and we can all carry on to more important things from now on. I hesitate to say we can carry on with things from now on. Something tells me that Gobshite in Glasgow will then come back and say she's got 800 screenshots of the Weetabix box, and it definitely is not something that she is watching. Let's see what happens in Weetagate tomorrow. Talking of tomorrow, fairly important video will be made tomorrow. Not going to go into details now, but I will tell you that man on the ground, Dr. David, who you haven't heard from for a long time, I have, you haven't, finally got a response from the Lancashire Constabulary under a Freedom of Information request. Now, not going into any details, but when I heard there are three things that were said in their final response that came back. One of them, I think, is a bit of a bombshell, actually. Don't get too hysterical, but after I've had my two coffees tomorrow, I will go through what I think is quite possibly a bombshell that they've thrown out there. And one other thing, minor bombshell, maybe. Well, very, very curious. But I'm going to leave that to tomorrow. So don't skip tomorrow's video. Yeah, the Freedom of Information request some snippets of answers and still not full answers. So we, Dr. David, on our behalf, is still pushing the authorities in Lancashire to provide more information. More on that tomorrow. Today's video, I actually want to analyze two things that the accident group have said that may have some merit. And this is what we do in academia. What we do is we might have a theory ourselves, but we love dipping into the theories of others to see what could hold up, what can stand argument, what could be true, and then incorporating that into our overall theory, if you like. And I first want to focus on what Thomas the Wanker said, the sage from Seaton Delaval, Thomas the Great, Thomas the Terrible, Thomas the Twat, whoever he is. He tried to explain away Liar Lucy's string of lies, fabrications in the GoFundMe by saying that, well, the experts do tell us that if a mind is particularly emotionally stressed and under pressure at the time, they do get facts wrong. So Thomas the Wanker was out there saying, it is entirely possible that when Brandon called Lucy, that Lucy thought it was Jay. That those things happen. And Thomas the Wanker was out there saying that, it's also entirely possible when Lucy said she went home early, alone, that, under pressure, stress, emotion, she actually meant she stayed out late with her friends. All of this, Thomas the Wanker said, is quite explicable. People do say odd things under pressure when the emotions are flowing and, your best friend's gone missing. Entirely possible. Okay, let's work with that theory. Let's not dismiss it. I mean, Occam's razor, the most simple explanation, if you like, is probably the one that you want to go with, is Lucy's a liar. But if we go with Thomas the Wanker's idea that, some of these erroneous statements could have been made, because mentally Lucy's all over the place, that could be true. If it is true, let us assume that Lucy's mentality is all over the place and she doesn't know what the hell she's saying. If that is true, then it would also be reasonable that when Lucy told liar Ivor that she called the Guardia Civil 10 times, that's not true. Lucy, as Thomas the Wanker said, emotionally drained, under pressure, she's stressed. Could well be that when she said she called the Guardia Civil 10 times, she meant she never called the Guardia Civil. She could be so stressed and under pressure and emotionally drained that when she said she called the Guardia Civil 10 times and the sixth time they said, we're sending out a helicopter. I mean, it could be, according to Thomas the Wanker, that she just got that wrong. It does happen. And what really happened was she called the first time and they said, we're not sending a helicopter. Bugger off. We don't know. But if we take Thomas the Wanker's theory to its logical extent, that emotionally strained, under pressure Lucy's just babbling away nonsense, then we could legitimately say there's no reason to believe that the Guardia Civil actually lied to Lucy. We could say that Ivor's got that totally wrong. There was never any lie from the Guardia Civil. They told Lucy the whole truth. Every word they said was true. And therefore, because Lucy didn't really process it under the strain, Lucy's going out saying they lied, they lied, they lied. Loggy's repeating Lucy and saying, oh, Guardia Civil lied, lied, lied. Thomas the Turtle's saying, hang on, that might not be the case. If Lucy's babbling nonsense, babbling bollocks, maybe the Guardia Civil never lied at all. So thank you for that insight, Thomas the Turtle. I'm on board with you here now. I think it may well be that Lucy had no idea what the hell she was saying, and Liar was a total idiot. Luggy was a total idiot for believing every word of it and then telling the world that Guardia Civil lied. I think you might be right, Thomas. So we can now incorporate that into our theory of what Lucy actually heard, what she actually did, what she actually said, and we can just say that Luggy's a darn idiot for believing every word of it because Lucy was just under pressure. She didn't know what she was saying, in her pillow talk to Uncle Ivor. And the other thing I want to look at is let's go back for Ivor here. So Ivor Lovelace, what he did was he showed us the screenshot that Lucy had of Jay's last known location. And Ivor's point was when you just have a strip of road and no one knows where that road is, how could you possibly go up there and find it? Now, Obviously, the flaw in the argument is when that strip of road has the name Calle El Turrón clearly labelled on it, then even a 5-year-old would probably Google Calle El Turrón and find out exactly where in Tenerife that strip of road is. That makes sense. Not to Luggy, I know, but it makes sense to normal people. And Luggy's example was, here's a strip of the M4, which I think is in Wales. I don't know where it is, the M4, somewhere in the UK. And Luggy's point was, if there's no point of reference here, how do you know where the person is? Just because you have a, pinned location next to the road, if you don't know where that road is, you don't know where the person is. Well, I tell you what, Luggy, in that example, in that experiment, if you tell us the nearest street to that stretch of M4, like Lucy could see with Calle El Turrón, then I'll tell you exactly where that last known location of the person is. But if it really is just a stretch of road, how do you tell where that person is? That's a good point. Let us imagine that stretch of road that Lucy looked at didn't say Calle El Turrón. Or Lucy looked at it and she couldn't figure out Calle El Turrón was a clue. Then you don't know where that road is. Luggy's right. You don't know where that road is. So if Lucy's in Los Cristianos and she has no idea where in Tenerife that road is, she's got no idea where to go. No idea at all. In other words, why would Lucy venture up towards Masca when that strip of road could have been anywhere around the whole island of Tenerife? There's no reason for her to go up towards Masca. None at all. She's looking at a road. She doesn't know where that road is. Why is she heading up towards Masca? Well, the explanation goes from that mini video from Jay's phone showing what? A parked car by a garage and some mountain scenery that she figured out that is Ophelia's Cafe. That's what we were told, yeah? Lucy, who can't figure out Calle El Turrón is a big clue where that road is, she could figure out as she looked carefully at that mini video. There's a green door and a green garage door and a white car parked there, and there's a big mountain in the background. That must be Masca. That's what we're told. She figured that out. She and Lena Patel, who is silent, I wrote to her. She hadn't written back, of course. Um, yeah, but how did she find that? Because that could have been anywhere on Tenerife. Absolutely anywhere. Why did Lucy start to think? And Lucy herself, in conversation with Jay, said, "Of course, there are mountains around you. The whole of Tenerife is mountainous." Lucy herself knows mountains of all kinds, shapes, sizes, and outlines are all over the island. What I'm saying is, there's no way that Lucy would have seen that mini video and known where the hell that was in Tenerife. Absolutely no way. Like I said, I've been to the other end of the island when I was up in that Benijo area, and the mountains look exactly the same. Same terrain, same scenery. It looks exactly the same. You couldn't sit down and say, where on this whole island of Tenerife could that be? You'd never figure it out. But this is where I was interested in what the barrister Lois Norris, was that her name? The barrister that kind of represented Debbie in Inquest Part Two, because there was a question there that I've always figured out was a strange question. She asked Brad. She said, when you got that screenshot or that location of Jay, 6 in the morning, did you take that to be his final location? And Brad said yes. Now, I couldn't think what was the relevancy of that question. I now think that the barrister asked that because she was keen to know if there was any way Lucy would know to go in the Santiago Masca direction to look for where Jay was. If we assume Lucy didn't know from that stretch of road where Jay was, then how would she know to go towards Masca and Santiago? Possibly because Brad had shown his screenshot of Jay's last known location where it clearly said Santiago, or it was up in that direction. But if Brad said his impression was that was Jay's last known location, then coming into Santiago, how would Lucy and Lena know whether to go towards Masca or up towards El Tanque and Ecod? They wouldn't know. So I think the barrister's question was to find out, would Lucy know where to go, or would Lucy have known where Jay was because she spent the night there? That's a whole separate issue. I've got to wrap this one up, and I'm just going to say, I think the barrister realized Lucy didn't know from what Lucy had said, didn't have any idea where to go looking for Jay. And she asked Brad that question to figure out, to confirm that Lucy didn't know where to go looking for Jay, according to Lucy's words. But Yeah, she did know where to go, didn't she? I wonder how she knew. All right, let's leave it there. Like I say, big video tomorrow, Dr. David's report. Hasta luego, and see you then.